The convenience store's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Amira counted one notes with trembling fingers. 3 months in Seoul, and she still couldn't get the exchange rate right. Her light brown skin stood out among the late-night customers, but she'd stopped caring about stares weeks ago. "Mommy, I'm hungry." She looked down at Ade, his 6-year-old face a perfect blend of her and the man she'd fled from in Lagos. The man who'd promised her the world and delivered only bruises. "I know, baby, just a little longer." The bell above the door chimed. Amira didn't look up until she felt the shift in the air, that predatory silence that made her spine stiffen. 3 men in dark suits, not police. Worse. She grabbed Ade's hand and headed for the door, but one of the men blocked her path. He said something in Korean, gesturing toward the back of the store. The cashier had gone pale, hands raised. "I don't want trouble," Amira said, pulling Ade behind her. The man grabbed her arm. Ade screamed, a sound that shattered the tense quiet, and bit down on the man's leg. Hard. Everything happened fast. The man raised his hand to strike. Amira threw herself between them. Then a voice cut through the chaos, sharp as a blade. "Enough." The men froze. A 4th man stepped through the door, younger than the others, maybe 30. His face could have been carved from stone, sharp jawline, dark eyes that missed nothing. His black suit was perfectly tailored, and he moved with the ease of someone who'd never been denied anything in his life. "Boss," one of the men stammered, "we were just terrorizing women and children." The young man's Korean was crisp, authoritative. He switched to English, looking at Amira. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, still shielding Ade. He studied her for a long moment, something flickering in his expression, surprise, maybe, or curiosity. Then he turned to his men and said something that made them bow and retreat like scolded dogs. "Come with me," he said to Amira. "I don't think so." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "That wasn't a question, but I'm not going to hurt you. Those men work for a rival organization. They'll be back, and next time I won't be here." Amira's mind raced. Ade was pressed against her leg, silent again. He hadn't spoken since Lagos, since the night they'd run. The doctors said it was trauma. Selective mutism, they called it. The young man crouched down to Ade's level. "You're brave," he said softly. "What's your name?" Ade stared at him with wide eyes, but said nothing. "He doesn't talk," Amira said, her voice harder than she intended. The man stood, nodding as if this made perfect sense. "I'm Jin. My car is outside. I'll take you somewhere safe." "Why would you help us?" "Because I'm curious why a woman with a child is buying instant noodles at midnight in Itaewon, looking over her shoulder every 3 seconds. His eyes were unreadable. "And because those men won't forget what happened here." He was right. Amira knew how these things worked. She'd learned the hard way that violence had a long memory. "One night," she said, "then we're gone." Jin's apartment wasn't what she expected. It was minimalist, almost cold, but there were books everywhere. Philosophy, history, poetry. Not what she'd imagined for a gangster. He showed her to a guest room with a bed big enough for her and Ade. "There's food in the kitchen. Help yourself." "Why are you really doing this?" Jin paused at the door. "You reminded me of someone I couldn't save." Before she could ask more, he was gone. Amira didn't sleep. She sat on the bed watching Ade's chest rise and fall, listening to every sound in the unfamiliar space. At 3 a.m., she crept out to find water and found Jin sitting in the dark living room, a glass of whiskey in his hand. "Can't sleep either?" he asked without turning. "Force of habit." She moved to the kitchen, poured water from the filtered tap. "How long have you been running?" The question landed like a punch. She turned to face him. "What makes you think I'm running?" "The way you look at doors, the way you positioned yourself nearest to the exit, the fact that you have no luggage except a backpack." He finally looked at her. "I know what running looks like." Amira leaned against the counter. 3 months. We left Nigeria with nothing." "The father," her jaw tightened, "is the reason we left." Jin nodded slowly. "The men from tonight, they work for the Ochoa cartel. Mexican operation that's been trying to expand into Seoul. They're using that convenience store as a front. He paused. They saw you, they'll remember you, and they'll wonder why you're here, what you saw. Are you trying to scare me? I'm trying to be honest. He stood, moved closer. You need protection, I can provide it. For what price? Work for me. My organization needs someone with your skills. You don't know what my skills are. A knowing smile. I did my research while you were in the room. Amira Okafor, formerly of Lagos, certified accountant, worked for 3 different companies before disappearing. He tilted his head. I'm guessing you found something in one of those companies, something that made you run. Her blood went cold. How? I have resources. He set down his glass. I need someone to clean my books, someone who understands how to hide money, how to track it, someone who's motivated to stay hidden. I won't work for a criminal. You already are one. You're here illegally. No visa, no papers. His voice wasn't cruel, just factual. I'm offering you protection, money, and a future for your son. All I ask is your expertise. Amira wanted to refuse, wanted to grab Ade and run again. But she was so tired of running, and Jin's eyes held something she hadn't expected, respect. I need to think about it. You have until morning. She turned to leave, then stopped. Why did you really help us tonight? Jin's expression shifted, something vulnerable breaking through. Because I have a daughter I'll never meet, and I'd like to think if she needed help, someone would give it. Amira went back to the room, her mind spinning. She lay next to Ade, watching the Seoul skyline through the window, and wondered if she was making a deal with the devil or finding an unexpected salvation. At dawn, she had her answer. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that Jin's interest in her wasn't just professional, and the secrets she carried from Lagos were about to collide with his world in ways neither of them could anticipate. Amira found Jin in his office at dawn, sitting behind a sleek desk with papers spread before him. He looked up when she entered, and something in his expression told her he'd been waiting. I'll do it, she said, but I have conditions. He leaned back in his chair. I'm listening. Ade and I get our own place, somewhere safe but separate. I work normal hours. I need to be there when he wakes up, when he sleeps. And the moment I feel we're in danger, we're done. Agreed. Anything else? She hesitated. I need papers, real ones, for both of us. Jin nodded slowly. That will take time, but I can arrange it. He stood, extending his hand. Welcome to the family business, Amira. His handshake was firm, warm. She ignored the flutter in her stomach. 2 weeks later, Amira sat in a small office in the back of Jin's legitimate business, an import-export company that actually did move cargo, just not always legal cargo. The numbers on her screen told stories that would send most people to prison for life. She was good at this. Too good. Within days, she'd found discrepancies that Jin's previous accountant had missed or deliberately hidden. Money disappearing into accounts that didn't connect to any known operation. Jin, she called out, not looking up from her screen. We need to talk. He appeared in her doorway minutes later, and she'd started to realize he was never far when she was working. Protective, she told herself. Not possessive. There was a difference. Someone's stealing from you, she said, turning the laptop toward him. Roughly 2,000,001 per month for the past 8 months. It's sophisticated. Whoever's doing this knows your system inside and out. Jin's jaw tightened, the only sign of his anger. Who? I don't know yet, but I'll find them. His eyes met hers, and the intensity there made her breath catch. Be careful, Amira, if they realize you're onto them. I've dealt with dangerous men before. Not like these. He moved closer, his hand resting on her desk. Promise me you'll tell me before you confront anyone. Why do you care so much? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Jin was quiet for a long moment. Because you're not just an employee anymore. Before she could process that, his phone rang. He answered in rapid Korean, his expression darkening with each word. When he hung up, he looked at her with something like regret. I have to go, there's a situation. He paused at the door. My driver will take you and Ade home. Don't go anywhere else tonight. Jin, what's happening? The Ochoa cartel, they're making moves. His voice was cold now, all business. Stay inside. I'll have men watching your building. He left before she could argue. Amira picked up Ade from the private school Jin had enrolled him in another condition she'd negotiated. The boy still didn't speak, but his teachers said he was brilliant with numbers and art. He drew constantly, dark sketches that worried her. Always the same images, shadows, running figures, broken doors. That night, she made him his favorite meal, jollof rice that she'd learned to make with Korean ingredients. He ate silently, then went to his room to draw. She was cleaning up when her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number, *, I know what you found. Delete it or your son pays. Her blood turned to ice. The plate in her hand slipped, shattering on the floor. Ade appeared in the doorway, his eyes wide with fear at the sound. She forced a smile, but her hands were shaking. It's okay, baby. Mommy just dropped something. She grabbed her phone, fingers hovering over Jin's number. But what if he was the leak? What if calling him put them in more danger? Another message. You have 24 hours. Amira's mind raced. She backed up all the evidence to an encrypted cloud drive, then started deleting the local files. But she also dug deeper, working through the night while Ade slept. She had to know who was threatening her child. At 2 a.m., she found it. A pattern in the transactions that led to a name, Jin Park, Jin's second-in-command. Her phone rang, making her jump. Jin. Are you awake? His voice was rough, tired. Yes. I'm outside. Let me in. She shouldn't. Every instinct screamed danger, but she buzzed him up anyway. Jin looked different. His suit jacket was gone, his shirt untucked, a cut above his eyebrow that he hadn't bothered to clean. He walked into her apartment like he belonged there, heading straight for her kitchen and pouring himself water. Rough night, she asked. The Ochoa cartel hit one of our warehouses, killed 3 men. He turned to face her. They're sending a message. They want territory and they're willing to go to war for it. Amira's throat went dry. Jin, I need to tell you something. His eyes sharpened. What happened? She showed him the messages, watched his expression go from concern to fury in seconds. Jin, he said, his voice deadly quiet. I should have seen it. You know him. He's been with me for 5 years, saved my life twice. Jin's hand clenched into a fist. And he's been selling me out to the Ochoa cartel. How do you know it's them? Because Jin's sister married a Ochoa lieutenant 2 years ago. I thought it was just love. I was wrong. He pulled out his phone. I'm moving you, tonight, somewhere he can't find you. No, Amira stood her ground. I'm not running again. I'm tired of running. Amira. Use me. The idea crystallized as she spoke. Let Jin think I deleted everything. Then we feed him false information and see where it goes. Jin stared at her like she'd grown a second head. Absolutely not. You're not bait. I'm the only one who can do this. He doesn't know I've identified him yet. If you confront him directly, he'll run or we'll have a war on 2 fronts. She moved closer. I can handle this, Jin. I've been handling dangerous men my whole life. Something shifted in his expression, pain maybe. What did he do to you, Ade's father? The question caught her off guard. She'd never told him the full story. He was a politician, powerful, connected. I was his accountant, and I found out he was embezzling from public health funds, millions that were supposed to go to hospitals and clinics. Her voice remained steady, clinical. When I confronted him, he said I was his now, that I knew too much to leave, and when I tried anyway. She didn't finish, didn't need to. Jin's eyes said he understood. He hurt you in front of Ade, Jin said quietly. Amira nodded. That's why he stopped talking. He saw things no child should see. Jin crossed the distance between them in 2 strides. For a moment, she thought he might touch her, but he stopped just short. I will never let anyone hurt you or Ade again. Do you understand me? You can't promise that. Watch me. The intensity in his voice made her believe him. But you're right about Minjun. We use you as bait, but we do it my way, with my protection. They spent the next hour planning. Amira would tell Minjun she deleted everything, but hint that she might have backups. Jin would set up surveillance, track every move Minjun made. It was dangerous, possibly stupid, but it was also the first time in 3 months that Amira felt like she was fighting back instead of just surviving. Jin left at dawn, but not before checking every window, every lock. At the door, he paused. "There's something you should know," he said. "The daughter I mentioned, the one I never met." "You don't have to." "Her mother was African American. We met when I was studying in the States. I was 20, stupid, thought I could have a normal life." His smile was bitter. "My father had other plans. He forced me to choose, her or the family. I chose wrong." "Jin." "She had the baby anyway, named her Jae-sun. I send money every month, but I've never seen her face. Her mother won't allow it, and she's right not to." He met Amira's eyes. "When I saw you and Ade in that store, fighting against men who wanted to hurt you, I saw what I should have been, what I could have protected." Before Amira could respond, he was gone. She stood in the doorway long after his footsteps faded, her heart racing. This was getting complicated. She was supposed to be working for him, nothing more. But the way he looked at her, the way he talked about his daughter. A sound made her turn. Ade stood in the hallway, his sketchpad clutched to his chest. "Baby, did we wake you?" He walked forward and held out the pad. On it, he'd drawn Jin's face with careful detail, but with something unexpected. A halo of light around his head, and next to him, a smaller figure. Ade had drawn himself, holding Jin's hand. Amira's eyes burned with unshed tears. "Oh, sweetheart." Ade looked up at her with those two old eyes. Then he did something that made her heart stop. He smiled. It was small, fragile as glass, but it was real. And Amira realized with terrifying clarity that they were already in too deep. Jin wasn't just their protector anymore. He was becoming something far more dangerous. He was becoming hope. The trap was set by Tuesday afternoon. Amira sat in her office, knowing Minjun was watching through the security camera she'd pretended not to notice. She made a show of deleting files, her shoulders tense with fake nervousness. Her phone buzzed. "Minjun, smart choice, now forget everything you saw." She texted back, already forgotten. But Jin's tech specialist was tracking every digital footprint Minjun left. Within hours, they had confirmation. He'd contacted the Ochoa cartel immediately after her message, arranging a meeting for Friday night. "He's going to sell them our shipping routes," Jin said, studying the intercepted messages on his phone. They were in his car, parked 3 blocks from her apartment. He insisted on these check-ins now, claiming it was operational necessity. Amira suspected it was something else. "So we stop him before the meeting," she said. "No, we let the meeting happen, but we control what information he brings." Jin's smile was sharp as a knife. "I want to know everyone involved, every name, every connection. Then we cut off the head and the body dies." "That's risky." "Everything worth doing is." He looked at her, and the air in the car suddenly felt too thin. "How's Ade?" The question always surprised her, how often Jin asked about her son. "He's drawing more, lighter things now. Yesterday he drew a tree with birds." "That's good, isn't it?" "It's progress," she hesitated. "He drew you again." Jin's expression softened. "Yeah." "You were teaching him taekwondo." She didn't mention that in the drawing. She'd been there too, watching them with a smile on her face. Didn't mention that Ade had drawn them like a family. "I could actually teach him, if you'd allow it. Self-defense is important." "Jin, I don't think." "Not as a fighter, as a protector, so he never feels helpless again." Jin's voice dropped. "I know what helplessness does to a person, Amira. It rots you from the inside." She studied his profile, the hard line of his jaw, the scar near his temple that she'd never asked about. "Is that what happened to you?" "My father raised me to be a weapon. Every emotion was weakness, every kindness was liability." He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I watched him beat my mother for years. Told myself I was too young, too weak to stop him. Then one day I wasn't young anymore and I still did nothing. Where is she now? Dead. Cancer took her when I was 25. She died still afraid of him, still making excuses for him. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. 3 months after her funeral, I put a bullet in his head and took over the organization. Some of his men called it patricide. I called it justice. Amira should have been horrified, should have grabbed Ade and run from this man who killed his own father. But all she felt was a deep, aching understanding. My father sold me, she said quietly. I was 17. He had gambling debts and one of his creditors wanted a wife. My father told me it was my duty, that I should be grateful. She'd never told anyone this, not even during the therapy sessions after Lagos. I ran, lived on the streets for 2 months before a teacher found me and helped me get into university. I never saw my father again. Did you want to? Every day for a year, I imagined going back and watching him beg. She smiled sadly. Then I realized he'd never beg. Men like him don't know how. Jin reached across the console and took her hand. The touch was electric, dangerous. We're quite a pair, aren't we? Broken recognizes broken. Maybe. His thumb traced circles on her palm. Or maybe we're just finally finding people who understand. Amira should have pulled away. This was her boss, a criminal, someone who'd admitted to murder. But his hand was warm and steady, and she hadn't felt safe with anyone in so long. Her phone shattered the moment. Unknown number. Ms. Okafor, I believe we should talk. The voice was accented, Spanish. My name is Carlos Ochoa. Jin's expression went deadly still. He mouthed, speaker. She pressed the button. I don't know who you are. Don't insult my intelligence. You're working for Jin Park, and you've discovered some irregularities in his finances. I'm prepared to offer you significantly more money to work for me instead. I'm not interested. Not even when I tell you that I know about Ade. Sweet boy, 6 years old, attends Seoul International Academy. Ochoa's voice turned cold. I also know about his father in Lagos, Victor Okonkwo. He's been looking for you, did you know? Quite desperately. Amira's world tilted. You're lying. Am I? Check your email. I've sent you a photo from last week. Her hands shook as she opened her email. The image loaded. Victor, older but unmistakable, standing outside Ade's school in Lagos with a man she recognized as his head of security. He doesn't know you're in Seoul. Yet. Ochoa let the threat hang. Meet with me tomorrow alone and I'll keep your location secret. Refuse and I'll send him your address myself. You have 12 hours to decide. The line went dead. Amira couldn't breathe. Victor was looking for them. After 3 months, she'd started to believe they were safe, that he'd moved on. She'd been so stupid. Hey, Jin's voice cut through her panic. Look at me. She did. His eyes were fierce, certain. He won't touch you. He won't touch Ade, I promise you. You can't stop them both, the cartel and Victor. He has connections, Jin. Government officials, police, military, he could. I don't care if he has the president of Nigeria on speed dial. Jin cupped her face with both hands. You're under my protection now. That means something in this world. The Ochoa cartel thinks they can threaten you. I'll burn their operation to the ground. This Victor wants to find you. I'll make sure he never leaves Lagos alive. You don't understand what he's capable of. And he doesn't understand what I'm capable of. Jin's voice was steel wrapped in silk. I've built an empire from blood and fear, Amira. I've survived assassination attempts, turf wars, and betrayals that would have killed weaker men. One abusive politician doesn't scare me. Why? The word came out broken. Why are you doing all this for us? His expression shifted, something vulnerable breaking through the armor. Because when I look at Ade, I see my daughter growing up without me. When I look at you... He stopped, seemed to struggle with words. When I look at you, I see someone worth protecting, someone worth keeping safe, and I haven't felt that way about anyone in a very long time. Jin, we can't, this isn't. He kissed her, soft at first, tentative, like he was afraid she'd shatter. Then deeper when she didn't pull away, when instead she leaned into him and let herself feel something other than fear for the first time in months. It was dangerous and stupid and absolutely wrong. He was a killer. A crime lord, someone she should run from. But his hands were gentle, and he tasted like safety, and she was so tired of being strong alone. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Jin rested his forehead against hers. "I know this is complicated," he whispered. "I know I'm not what you should want, but I'm asking you to trust me anyway. Can you do that?" Before could answer, her phone rang again. This time it was the school. "Ms., I'm calling about he's. Well, you should come right away." Heart stopped. What happened? Is he hurt? "No, he's fine physically, but Ms." The teacher's voice was shaking. "He spoke, for the first time since enrollment. He's asking for someone named Jin." The world seemed to stop spinning. Jin was already starting the car, his face a mixture of shock and something that looked dangerously like hope. They reached the school in record time. The teacher met them at the door, looking overwhelmed. "He's in the art room. He won't talk to anyone else, just keeps repeating the name." Ran, Jin followed close behind. Sat at a small table covered in drawings, his eyes fixed on the door. When he saw them, he stood up. "Jin," he said, his voice small and rusty from disuse. "Jin, bad men are coming." Dropped to her knees in front of him. "Baby, how do you know?" Eyes filled with tears. "I saw them, outside. They had a picture of you, Mommy. They were showing it to people and asking questions." Jin was already on his phone, barking orders in Korean. Then he crouched down next to, meeting eyes. "How many men?" "3," held up 3 fingers. One had a scar like a snake. Jin's expression went cold. "Santos, enforcer," he looked at. "They're not waiting 12 hours, they're moving now." "What do we do?" "We disappear." Jin scooped into his arms like he weighed nothing. "I have a safe house, completely off the books. We go there now and we don't come out until this is finished." "Jin, the meeting with Minjan is still happening. My men will handle it." He was already moving toward the back exit. "Right now, the only thing that matters is keeping you both alive." They made it to the car without incident. Jin drove like a man possessed, taking turns that made stomach lurch. Sat in her lap, his small arms wrapped around her neck, and for the first time in 3 months, he was talking. "Who hurt you, Mommy?" he whispered against her shoulder. "Was it the bad man from home?" The question shattered something inside her. She thought he didn't remember, that maybe his mind had protected him from the worst memories. She'd been wrong. "Yes, baby." Is Jin going to hurt him back? Jin's eyes met hers in the mirror. The promise in them was absolute. "Yes," Jin said before could answer. "I am." Nodded, satisfied, and pressed closer to his mother. They drove for another 20 minutes, finally pulling into an underground garage of a building that looked abandoned. Jin led them through a series of locked doors, each requiring fingerprint and retinal scans. The safe house was on the top floor, sparse but functional. Jin immediately went to the windows, checking sight lines and escape routes. Put on the couch with his sketchpad. He was drawing again, his small hand moving rapidly across the page. Jin's voice was urgent. "Come here." She joined him at the window. He pointed to a black SUV parked 2 blocks away. "They found us already," her voice cracked. "No, that's not men," his jaw clenched. "That's a Nigerian diplomatic vehicle." The implication hit her like a physical blow. "Victor." "He's here, in Seoul." Jin pulled out his phone. "He must have had someone tracking you all along, waiting for the right moment." "How is that possible? We were so careful." "Money opens doors. You know that better than anyone." She thought of Victor's connections, his resources. Of course he'd found her. She'd been naive to think 3 months and 1 ocean would be enough. Appeared between them, his drawing held up. On it he'd sketched 4 figures, himself, Jin, and a shadow with red eyes looming behind them. "He's coming," said, his voice clearer now, stronger. "The monster is coming." And as if summoned by the words, phone buzzed with a message from Victor's number. One she deleted, but clearly hadn't been deleted from his end. "Found you, my love. Did you really think you could keep my son from me? We have so much to discuss. I'm downstairs. Shall I come up, or will you come down like a good girl? Jin read the message over her shoulder. His hand went to the gun at his back. He's bluffing. There's no way he... The elevator dinged. Jin moved fast. He shoved Amira and Ade toward the back bedroom. Lock the door. Don't come out until I tell you. Jin, you can't. Now Amira. She grabbed Ade and ran. Behind her, she heard Jin chamber around into his gun. The click echoed like a death sentence. Inside the bedroom, she pushed a dresser against the door with shaking hands. Ade watched silently, his newly found voice stolen again by fear. She pulled him into the closet, holding him tight. It's okay, baby. Jin will protect us. But through the walls, she heard voices. Victor's accent, smooth as poisoned honey. Mr. Park, I presume. I've heard interesting things about you. You're not welcome here. Jin's voice was ice. This is about my family, not your criminal enterprise. Send out Amira and the boy, and I'll leave peacefully. That's not happening. Victor laughed. You think you can protect her? I have diplomatic immunity. I could kill you right now and your government couldn't touch me. But I'm a reasonable man. I'm offering you a way out. Here's my counteroffer, Jin said. You turn around, get back in your vehicle, and return to Lagos. If you ever come near them again, I'll have you killed in ways that make your diplomatic status irrelevant. There are no laws in the ocean, Mr. Okafor. Remember that. Silence. Then Victor's voice, colder now. She's poisoned you already. Amira has a gift for making men think they're special. Did she tell you about us? How she begged me to marry her to give her son my name. She told me enough, like how you beat her in front of a 6-year-old child. Discipline isn't abuse, Mr. Park. Surely in your line of work you understand the need for control. Victor's footsteps moved closer. She stole from me. Took confidential files, embarrassed me in front of powerful people. That boy is mine by blood, and she's mine by... The gunshot made Amira scream. Ade buried his face in her chest, his small body trembling. She wanted to run out to see if Jin was alive, but she couldn't move. Fear had turned her limbs to stone. Then Jin's voice. The next one goes in your skull. Get out. You just signed your death warrant, Victor snarled. I have men. In Seoul, doubtful. You came alone because you didn't want anyone knowing you lost control of your woman and child. Pride is a weakness, Victor. I should know. More silence, then retreating footsteps. The elevator dinged again. Amira counted to 100 before she dared to move. She pulled the dresser away and opened the door. Jin stood in the living room, his gun still drawn, a bullet hole in the wall 6 inches from where Victor must have been standing. He looked at her, and she saw something she'd never seen in his eyes before. Fear. He's gone, Jin said, but he'll be back with reinforcements. We need to move. Where can we go that he won't find us? Nowhere, not while he's alive. Jin holstered his gun. But I know someone who can help, someone Victor won't see coming. 2 hours later, they were in a private room at a restaurant in Gangnam. The woman sitting across from them was stunning, 50-something with sharp eyes and a smile that didn't reach them. Jin, she said warmly, it's been too long. Aunt Minhee, Jin bowed slightly, thank you for meeting us. Amira had learned in the car that Minhee wasn't really Jin's aunt. She was his father's sister, the one family member who'd sided with Jin after the patricide. She ran a powerful information network and had connections that spanned continents. Minhee's eyes shifted to Amira and Ade. So this is the woman who's turned my nephew into a romantic. Aunt. Don't aunt me. You've never asked for my help with a woman before. This one must be special. She leaned forward. Tell me about Victor Okafor. Amira explained everything. The embezzlement she'd discovered, Victor's violence, their escape. Minhee listened without interrupting, her expression unreadable. When Amira finished, Minhee pulled out her phone and made a call in rapid Korean. After 5 minutes, she hung up and smiled. Victor Okafor is untouchable in Nigeria, but he's vulnerable here. His diplomatic immunity only extends so far. She slid a folder across the table. These are photos of him meeting with known criminals in Seoul. If these were to reach the Korean Foreign Ministry, he'd be expelled within 24 hours. That won't stop him, Amira said. He'll just come back through unofficial channels. Not if he's dealing with a scandal at home. Minhee's smile turned predatory. I have contacts in Lagos, journalists who would be very interested in those embezzlement files you took. With evidence, they could destroy him politically. He'll know it was me. Let him know. Let him understand that touching you means exposing himself. Minhee leaned back. Sometimes the best defense is mutually assured destruction. Jin shook his head. It's not enough, he's obsessive. He won't stop until he's dead, Amira finished quietly. That's what you're thinking, isn't it? The silence was answer enough. I can't ask you to kill someone for me, Jin. You're not asking, I'm offering. His hand found hers under the table. This man hurt you, traumatized your son, crossed an ocean to hunt you down. He's not going to stop, Amira. Men like him never do. And what happens after? When Ade asks why his father disappeared, when he's old enough to understand that We'll tell him the truth, Jin interrupted. That some monsters need to be put down so the innocent can sleep at night. Ade, who'd been coloring quietly at the end of the table, suddenly spoke. I don't want a monster for a father. I want Jin. The words hung in the air like a bomb. Minhee raised an eyebrow. Well, that's settled then. But Amira's heart was breaking. Ade was 6 years old, choosing a criminal over his biological father because at least Jin had never raised a hand to him. What kind of world had she brought her son into? There's another option, Minhee said, watching Amira's face. Victor wants the boy because he sees him as property, yes. What if the boy legally wasn't his anymore? What do you mean? Amira asked. Jin could adopt him. With the right paperwork, the right lawyers, Victor would have no legal claim. And with my help, we could ensure Victor never gets close enough to challenge it. Jin's hand tightened on Amira's. That's a significant step. You just offered to kill a man for her, Minhee said dryly. Adoption seems mild in comparison. Amira's mind reeled. Let Jin adopt Ade, make this arrangement permanent, legal. It would mean binding herself to Jin in ways she'd never intended. But it would also mean safety. Real, legal safety. I need time to think, she said. Time is a luxury you don't have. Minhee stood. Victor's visa expires in 3 days. After that, he either leaves voluntarily or we force him out. Either way. You need to decide what kind of protection you want. The temporary kind, she gestured at Jin, or the permanent kind. She left them with the folder and a promise to call within the hour. Climbed into Jin's lap, something that had become habit over the past weeks. Will you be my, he asked, using the Korean word for father. Jin looked stricken. That's not, your mother needs to. I'm asking you, insisted. Will you? Yes, Jin said, his voice rough. If your mother agrees, yes. Both of them looked at. She felt the weight of the decision crushing her chest. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was too fast, too complicated. Jin was a criminal, a killer, someone who'd murdered his own father. But he was also the man who'd protected them without question, who'd risked his own organization to keep them safe, who looked at her son with genuine affection and at her with something that felt dangerously close to love. If we do this, she said slowly, I need complete honesty. About your business, about the dangers, about everything. Deserves to know what world he's entering. Agreed. And I want out eventually. You said you're building something different than what your father built. Prove it. Show me that my son won't inherit a legacy of violence. Jin nodded. I've been transitioning to legitimate business for 2 years. My goal is to be completely legal within 5. I can show you the paperwork, the investments, everything. One more thing, voice shook. Whatever this is between us, you and me, it moves at my pace. I'm not ready for. I don't know what I'm ready for, but I need you to understand that saving me doesn't mean owning me. I would never, Jin stopped, understanding dawning. Victor. Yes, Victor started by saving me too. from my father from poverty. Then saving became controlling, and controlling became. I'm not him. Jin sat down gently and took both of hands. I swear on everything I am not him. You and are not possessions. You're people he struggled with the words. People I care about more than I thought I could care about anyone. Wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Meet me at the Han River Park in 1 hour. Come alone, or I send evidence to the Korean police that you're an illegal immigrant who's been working for organized crime. You'll lose to the system, and I'll still get him in the end. Your choice, my love. Jin read it over her shoulder. No, absolutely not. He's right, though, if the police find out. Let me handle this. Jin was already texting someone. I'll go instead. Wear a wire, get him to confess to the threats. Then journalist friends will have everything they need. He'll know it's not me. Not if we're smart. Jin looked at her appraisingly. We're similar height, at night with the right clothes from a distance. You're going to impersonate me. Just long enough to get close, then I'll kill him, finished. That's what you're really planning. Jin didn't deny it. Tugged on sleeve. Mommy, I had a dream last night about the monster. What happened in the dream, baby? The monster fell in the water, and he didn't come back up. Eyes were too old, too knowing. It was a good dream. Felt something inside her break and reshape. She'd spent 3 months protecting her son from violence, from the darkness of the world. But maybe that had been the wrong approach. Maybe what needed wasn't shelter from reality, but justice for what had been done to him. She looked at Jin. If you do this, if you go tonight, I'm coming with you. Not close, but close enough to see it through. If I'm making this choice, I need to own it. Those are my terms. Jin studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Together, then. They had 3 hours to prepare. 3 hours before Victor's ultimatum. 3 hours before everything changed. Returned with paperwork, adoption forms that could be fast-tracked through her connections. Sign these, she said. Whether Victor lives or dies tonight, this makes it legal. Hand trembled as she signed her name. Then Jin signed his. Just like that, had a new father on paper. There's something else, said, her expression grave. My sources confirmed Min Jun's meeting with the cartel, but there's a complication. They weren't just trading information. They were planning something for tonight. Jin's head snapped up. What kind of something? An attack on your compound. They think you'll be there, distracted by the Victor situation. They're planning to hit you when your guard is down. How many men? 20, maybe more. The cartel is throwing everything at this. Jin's jaw clenched. They're right, I would be distracted. This is coordinated, Victor and the cartel working together. Victor doesn't have those connections, protested. No, but Min Jun does. Jin's eyes went cold. He sold us out completely, told them about Victor, about tonight's meeting. This is a 2-pronged attack. Felt sick, so what do we do? Jin pulled out his phone and made a series of calls. When he finished, he looked at, Can you keep safe? Somewhere they'd never think to look. I have a temple in the mountains. My sister is an abbess there. No one would touch him in a sacred place. Shook his head violently. No, I stay with Mommy and... The word hit Jin visibly. He knelt down. I need you to be brave, the bravest you've ever been. Your mother and I have to do something dangerous, and we can't do it if we're worried about you. You're going to fight the monsters, said. Yes. Will you win? Jin's smile was fierce. Yes. Threw his arms around Jin's neck. Come back, both of you come back. We will, promised, praying it wasn't a lie. Took, who clutched his sketchpad like a lifeline. At the door, he turned back. Who hurt you, Mommy? He asked again, his voice steady. A lot of people, baby. Not anymore, said with certainty. We'll stop them. Then he was gone, and was alone with Jin and the weight of what they were about to do. We're going to war, Jin said quietly. 2 fronts, impossible odds. This could end very badly. I know. If something happens to me. Don't. If something happens, Jin insisted, we'll take care of you and I've left instructions, money, everything you'll need. Grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. Nothing is going to happen. We're going to end this tonight, and tomorrow is going to wake up without monsters chasing him. Understand? Jin kissed her, hard and desperate. I'm falling in love with you. Terrible timing, I know. The worst, she agreed. Kissing him back. Now let's go kill some monsters. They drove to the Han River as the sun set, painting Seoul in shades of blood and gold. Jin's men were already in position around his compound, ready for the cartel's attack. The plan was razor-thin. Deal with Victor quickly, then get back before Min-jun realized Jin wasn't there. At the park, they split up. Jin wore a wig that matched Amira's hair, a coat that mimicked her style. In the dark, from a distance, it might work. Amira watched from 50 yards away, hidden behind a tree, as Jin approached the meeting spot. Victor was there, waiting by the water, alone just as he'd promised. But Amira knew men like Victor. There was always a backup plan. And as Jin got closer, she saw them, two figures emerging from the shadows behind Victor, guns drawn. It was a trap, and Jin was walking right into it.